So in this video, I'm going to show you about the revolve tool, which is, it's actually under create, okay? And so the revolve tool will revolve a sketch. And let me show you what it's similar to. So you may have seen these party favors before. You buy them and they're really flat. And then when you open it, there's a little attachment here that you undo. There's a little latch, and you revolve it into a sphere in this case. So the tool does exactly that. We start with a flat sketch, and then we revolve it around an axis. And it's pretty fun. And you're going to do two different things. You're going to do an ice cream cone and a goblet. And the ice cream cone, I think, is easier. So we're going to start with that one. So we need to make a new sketch. And as you know, ice cream cones, we can make a circle for that. So I'm going to go ahead and take the circle and bring it out like this. And we're going to make another circle because everybody wants more than 2 scoops of ice cream. And we want our circles to intersect. So I'm going to put the center of my second circle here. And then when I pull it out, it's going to intersect because that should be bigger. Now I'm going to take 2 lines, bring them down to the center here. So flatness wise, you can tell this is an ice cream cone. However, you don't want the full ice cream cone to revolve. You want half of the cross section. So if we flip over here, we ended up with a 3D sphere, but we started with half of a cross section, which means we need to chop the ice cream cone in half, and we need to get rid of all these little extra lines. But let's start by cutting it in half. I'm still in the line tool. So I'm going to draw a line from the top to the bottom. There you go. Now I have a line cutting through it. Now you're going to trim away half of your ice cream cone. The trim tool is the scissors. So we're going to trim everything on this half. So we're close to being ready, but we also want to trim away these lines inside that intersect, okay? Because you want to be left with no lines inside. And since you know what you're doing, since you know what we're in the process of making, you can tell that looks like half a cross section of the ice cream cone. So if we revolve it on this line, you're going to get an ice cream cone. Very exciting. So we got to finish the sketch. And we're going to go to create and revolve. And that opens a box similar to what you used with the combine tool. Okay, so it's already anticipating that we want to select this profile. If it didn't automatically select this profile, clicking this X leaves everything unselected. So the profile, you want to select the face so that this looks blue. Okay, you then have to click the button next to axis. It doesn't usually switch automatically to this button like it does with combine. So after you select the face, click the button so you can select the axis. And you're going to click, you got to make sure, if I zoom in a little bit, make sure that turns a deeper blue. Because if you miss clicking this long line, it's not going to work. So when I click that, you can see that I'm getting a full ice cream cone, which is exactly what we want. But let me show you a couple things. If you change the degrees, you can end up with not a full ice cream cone, or you can end up with 2/3 of an ice cream cone. If I was to type in 270 degrees, then it's going to rotate 3/4 of the way. And obviously, if I type in 90, you get 1/4 of an ice cream cone. But we definitely want the full thing, so I'm going to go back to 360. And then when I click OK, we have a beautiful ice cream cone. And then you're going to find a nice find a nice angle at which to copy it. Like that might be a good angle to copy at. So that's the ice cream cone. Rewind if you need to do the steps again. Sometimes it doesn't work well the first time, and I would just start a new document and carefully follow the directions again. I'm going to move on to the goblet. So I'm going to click a new design. I want to go to the page so you can see what goblet we're going to use. Actually, I have to go to, no, not that, here. So the goblet you're going to make looks like this. Now, the hard part of this one is figuring out what to trace. But remember, you need half of the cross section. So we're going to start and just use a line to trace this figure. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to click a new document, a new sketch. I think I'll click the wall, and we're going to use the line tool. Okay, so I'm just going to click the full-on goblet. So I can do that. I just lost my center point, but that's okay. And then I'm going to go down here, out here. So there. That's pretty much what the shape of my goblet looks like. So I can cut it in half and go from there. Now, if you're a person that likes little details and you want to put an arc in here instead of a line, you can you don't have to do this part. You can trim this line and replace it with an arc. And I'm going to zoom in to do that. So I can click, and have a nice rounded arc. Click, click, and have a nice rounded arc. So you can do it. You can do that if you want to. But remember, we only want half of this. So I'm going to draw a line down the center. And actually, it's even okay if you do it like that. And we're going to cut away half of it. So trim, 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 trim. I'm going to turn off these constraint points because they get, they definitely get in the way. So I'm not going to show constraints. Okay, so, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit and I'm going to trim that. Oops, I guess I'm not in the trim tool anymore. Trim, trim. And we even don't want this inside line. And quite frankly, this is probably a little thick, but we're going to leave it. Now, one more thing. Most people think this is ready to revolve, and I'm going to show you why it's not. So we're going to finish the sketch, and we're going to go to revolve. And again, it pre-selected our face, which is nice, and now it wants us to select our angle of, or axis of rotation. So it's going to be this one again. Now, the reason this didn't work is because the goblet's not empty. And I want you to have an empty goblet, and I don't want you to just dig a hole out of it. I want us to think about what we need to do to the sketch so that it doesn't draw with a hole inside. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this body. So I'm going to right click and delete. And then I'm going to open the sketches and turn on the sketch and double click it so I can go back into that original sketch. You have to go back into this original sketch. So basically, we don't want this inside part. So from about here to here to here, we don't want anything in there. So I'm going to get the line tool again and draw parallel lines from here to there, because we basically don't want this part. So you're going to have to trim, whoops, I hit the wrong thing. You're going to have to trim this line away and this line away, and that's actually the shape we need before revolving, because it won't do this inside piece. So I'm going to finish sketch again, and I'm going to go to create and revolve again, and it's super nice that it's highlighting the face we want to revolve. and it's ready for us to select the axis of rotation, which is going to be this inside stem. So when I do that, you can see the goblet's empty. And I can click OK. And again, before you take a screenshot, make sure you have your sketch on, or make sure the sketch is visible, and that these are expanded, because I'm going to want to see the sketch outline. So good luck with that. Again, rewind is necessary and pay attention to the little details. Okay, have a good week.